Well, on Capitol Hill, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer apparently preparing Democrats right now for a new funding fight after the passage of President Trump's massive spending and tax bill. CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion joins us from Capitol Hill with more on this. And Nikole, good morning to you once again. What are we hearing from Senator Schumer about what is described as the rescissions package?
Well, that's right. Leader Schumer sent a letter to his colleagues, what's known as a Dear Colleague letter, just warning them about the potential fight ahead over the next batch of funding cuts. Of course, you'll remember at the very beginning of this year, the Trump administration really tried to claw back funding, effectively shuttering agencies like USAID, cutting funding to NPR and PBS. So that's all part of a $9.4 billion rescissions package. The leader there warning that Republicans' passage of this purely partisan proposal would be an affront to the bipartisan appropriations process. So in essence, what he is saying is, look, as Democrats, we're not going to work with our Republican colleagues on appropriations, on funding the government in the future, if you're only going to vote to claw back some of these funds that Congress has already appropriated. So this is likely to be a fight to come as Republicans take up this package later this month.
Yeah, interesting position and a real drawing of a line in the sand. I also want to ask you about Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, still in Washington, scheduled to meet with House Speaker Mike Johnson and other congressional leaders today. What are the expectations from these discussions?
Well, as you know, the prime minister is here in Washington for a few days. He just met with President Trump last night where they discussed the future of Gaza amid these ongoing ceasefire talks. Of course, prime minister even suggesting that the president should be nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. But that being said, this will be the first time that the prime minister is here on Capitol Hill since those U.S. strikes against Iran, which came in the wake of, the conflict between Iran and Israel. So from that standpoint, we will be looking to see if there are any questions that lawmakers have. Certainly, there was a lot of concern at the time of those strikes. Obviously, a lot of concern about the future of the region as well in light of the situation in Gaza. So, again, we're expecting the prime minister to sit down not only with Speaker Mike Johnson, but a bipartisan group of senators later this afternoon as well.
Yeah, Netanyahu, very familiar with that space, one of the few world leaders to address a joint session of Congress. And Nikole Killion with all the latest for us. Thanks so much.
You bet.
Now, as the Prime Minister discusses a potential ceasefire, we're speaking about Netanyahu there, we're also hearing about the ordeal that some hostages have been through in Gaza. Former Israeli-American hostage Keith Siegel spoke this morning at Israel's Knesset, calling on both leaders to help end the war. Listen.
I call upon you, Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump, to do what needs to be done. And you both can do it. Bring all of the 50 hostages back and end the war.
For more on developments out of the Middle East, we want to bring in CBS News senior foreign correspondent Elizabeth Palmer. She's reporting from Tel Aviv for us today. Hey there, Liz. During President Trump's meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday, there was an expression of optimism over the prospects of a new ceasefire deal with Hamas. Is that same optimism shared among Israelis where you are?
Well, it's cautious optimism. People are worn out, and the national trauma of the hostages really has people down. They're almost afraid to hope. And furthermore, a lot of them feel as if Israel has slightly lost its way in this war. They're not sure what's being achieved. Besides that, Israeli soldiers are dying, 5 of them yesterday. Let's have a listen to what some Israelis have had to say.
I don't understand why we are there, who we are exactly helping by being in Gaza. And what is the situation of the hostages? I don't even want to think.
I'm sad, like almost every morning. We wake up for bad news and make me sad and despair.
I'm very much disappointed. We're all very much hoping for the end of the war and the return of the hostages.
That is the basic bottom line. Everybody from both sides, Israelis and, of course, Palestinians, want an end to the war. This ceasefire just can't come soon enough.
And what about Palestinians, Liz? How might the currently proposed ceasefire deal impact their ability to get aid to move out of what has been complete devastation in Gaza?
The negotiators are playing their cards pretty close to the vest. We know in broad strokes what we might look forward to in the event of a deal. 60 days of no more airstrikes and military activity. So that will provide instant relief. And of course, along with that goes a commitment to allow aid to flood in. That will do a lot to alleviate the misery. For Israel, of course, some of the hostages, about half living or dead, will come home. Beyond that, though, it's very murky and, in fact, very difficult for both sides to agree on what would happen after the 60 days, because that now we're talking about a real political settlement for the region, and it's elusive, to say the least.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All right, Elizabeth Palmer joining us from Tel Aviv, just past 5:40 in the afternoon there. Liz, thank you very much.